Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is May 28th, and right now we are looking at the visible satellite imagery here across Pacific Northwest. Pretty nice day out there. You can see there is some convection across southwest Montana, portions of Idaho, and some of the higher terrain of Oregon here. There's this little low pressure feature here across Northern California. We'll look at that in some detail here in a moment. We'll also take a look at the potential warm up here as we go on into the extended forecast. We'll take a detailed look at that here coming up in a minute. This is looking at a wider view of things here. You can kind of see Northern California, that feature spinning here will spawn some thunderstorms the next few days across the region, and it could bring some excessive rainfall here. Some of these thunderstorms could drop some locally heavy rain. We'll look at that in some detail as well. You can see the Gulf of Alaska trough here starting to get going, and it's going to be right off the coastline here as a big ridge builds up over Canada in the extended forecast. It would include a lot of the Pacific Northwest in its warmth. This is looking at SeaTac yesterday, 70 degrees. Quite a nice sunny day here, Western Washington right now, and across a lot of the Pacific Northwest, as you saw in the visible satellite imagery. That's 2 degrees above average here. I don't know. It's 63 at my house right now. I don't know. Did we hit the 68-degree mark here? I'll check this yesterday. I haven't really checked in with the temperatures yet, but we are probably going to stay seasonal the next few days. Then we're going to start to warm up here as we go on in through early June. This is day one thunderstorm outlook, so this would be through this evening through tomorrow morning. Does include, as you saw in the visible satellite imagery, some of Idaho, Montana, and southern Oregon. Day two is going to continue here, and I'll show you the excessive rainfall outlook here for the next few days as well. Again, some of these storms could be dropping some locally heavy precipitation amounts, and across some of the burn scar areas it could cause some flooding. This would be day three, Tuesday morning through Wednesday morning here. It does include portions of southwest Montana, Idaho, and eastern Oregon. This is looking at that excessive rainfall outlook here. So you'd be looking at May 29th through May 30th here, and you can see it does include southern Oregon there. Day two, eastern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana here. Thunderstorm activity going on through mainly the afternoon and evening hours here. This is looking at a wider view of things here, the 18Z European run. Hot off the presses, Alaska, BC, Washington. Check out that troughing here over southern Alaska. This will be developing over the Pacific Ocean here, and you kind of see it hanging right off the coast here, keeping us seasonable for the next few days. Then this huge ridge is going to start to build over Canada here, and just how much of this will include the Pacific Northwest. We'll continue to watch this over the next few days, but let's look at the GFS right now. This is 18Z, hot off the presses as well. You can see pretty good model agreement with the European as that trough drops down across the Gulf of Alaska. Big ridge really starts to develop across Canada here. And if under this kind of scenario, this would include the Pacific Northwest in quite a bit of warmth here. We're going to look at the deterministic GFS run here in a moment and try to see just how warm it's going to get aloft, at least in the latest run. But you can see this ridge extending all the way up towards the Arctic Circle here. This is looking at 3-hour precipitation type, and watch across Western Oregon, BC, Washington. Not much precipitation. Much of the precipitation falling across the region is going to be across some of southern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana with this continued thunderstorm activity for the next few days. You can see by Tuesday afternoon, a pretty widespread area, including some of the Sierra Nevada, Northern California, southern and eastern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. Now, this is looking at the 16-day precipitation anomaly. Look at this signal here, really well below average across a lot of western Washington, some of western Oregon, all the way through western BC. And you can see the above average signal here for some of that thunderstorm activity across Oregon, Idaho, and in towards Montana. So big stark differences here. Not much rain expected here west of the Cascades and through western BC through the next couple of weeks. This is looking at the National Wind models. This would be for Monday, tomorrow. Again, fairly seasonable here, a little bit above average. Cool back down a bit here towards the end of May. But then you notice we start to bounce back. Look, Friday 74, 81 for Portland here. Look at Eastern Washington warming up nicely. Even warmer Saturday, Sunday. Looks like a nice weekend might be in the cards here, folks. As you can see, some 90s showing up there. Some mid and upper 80s possible even across the Willamette Valley. Look at Seattle into the lower 80s as well. Southwest BC, some of Vancouver Island getting quite warm also. Monday, again, quite a warm day again across Pacific Northwest. And if you look closely, you can see some of those valleys in BC here warming up quite nicely here, probably up into the 80s, even some upper 80s towards 90 degrees potentially on into the following Monday. And again, warm on in through the following week coming up here as this ridge is going to dominate the entire country of Canada, really. This is looking at 850 millibar streamline and temperature anomaly. Put this into motion here. You can see the trough kind of hanging out here off the Pacific Ocean. And you can see it keeping us seasonable here until we get towards the end of the week coming up here. And you can really see this warmth start to build as we go towards the weekend here. And then we really get a strong signal here as we go into the extended. But we got to use caution here. This is 200 hours out on the GFS, but it is showing a somewhat of a substantial warm up in some of the model runs. So we'll watch this closely over the next few days. We have some time to look at it and watch. This is 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. This goes through June 7th from June 3rd. And you can see that bullseye here across Pacific Northwest, some below average temperatures all the way across some of the desert Southwest in towards Texas and New Mexico there. But the northern states nice and warm with this big ridge building up northward into Canada. This is 8 to 14 day. This would go through June 11th here. And again, that bullseye here on the Pacific Northwest. This would be 6 to 10 day precipitation probability outlook. And you can see that signal here across a lot of the west with that thunderstorm activity going on. Does include some of Oregon and even eastern Washington as well. This is looking at the max temperature departure from average for the month of May. We are working on potentially our warmest May ever here across for Seattle anyway. I'll check out other stations here and we'll try to verify just how warm we're going to be, but we're looking at an extremely warm May, and you can clearly see it here as the departure from average, which is quite substantial here across Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. This would be from April 28th to May 27th. And this is precipitation percentage, and you can see very dry across western Washington, Oregon, including some of the Cascades, eastern Washington, some of the higher terrain not doing too bad across Montana, Idaho, Oregon here as well. But you can see some pretty stark differences here, and it's been pretty darn dry Cascades West from April 28th through May 27th. But anyway, glad to be back home. I just flew in from Denver today. I may go out chasing again later this week, depending on what the setups look like. It looks like it might get a little bit more active there across Tornado Alley as we go on into early June, but I'll take that a day at a time here and try to line things up schedule-wise. But anyway, yeah, glad to be home here. Glad the weather's nice, and I'm gonna get out and do some chores and some errands and get caught up here at home. And I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I will do my normal briefing tomorrow morning. We'll take a look at what the models have to say about that heat wave, and we will talk to you guys then.